Domi Station's Facebook page and YouTube. My name is Chrissy Souders. I'm your host for today's conversation, Workplace Solutions in the COVID Era. I'm joined by Antonio Montoya, who is the Executive Director of Domi Station. Hello, Antonio.
Hi, Chrissy. Thank you.
And we also have Adrianne Kautz, who is with us today to do our presentation. Hey, Adrianne, how are you doing today?
I'm good. Hey, Chrissy. Hey, Antonio. Thanks for having me.
Perfect. Well, Antonio, if you want to go ahead and give us a little bit of update on things that are happening at Domi Station and talking about our conversation today.
Thank you so much. Yes, so I'm very excited to continue this webinar series that you helped us start first with our chair of the board, Ime Hutt. And now we have invited one of our entrepreneurs and also a big supporter of Domi Station, Adrianne Kautz. She, in addition to her business that you all pretty much probably already know about, she also is an expert in interior design. And she actually is the person that helped us design our furniture at Domi originally. We were talking about all the difficulties that are coming up as we're trying to reopen spaces, including our own. And she said that she will be very happy to share her expertise and the tips and things that she's learned as she has been supporting a lot of different clients here in Tallahassee to reopen. So we're super excited about this. We're excited about you, Chrissy, helping us continue with this series and allowing us to continue to maintain our engagement with our members through Facebook.
Perfect. And also, I want to go ahead and bring in Bill Lixon, who is here with us today. Hey, Bill.
Hi. Thanks for hosting this, and I'm looking forward to the program. Thrilled to be at Domi and invite the community to connect with us through one of our programs or events, or to become a mentor. So thanks, and looking forward to the presentation.
Perfect. Okay, so I know you guys will be behind the scenes and helping us out. So I'm going to go ahead and we'll start with Adrianne. So Adrianne, you can go ahead and tell us a little bit about how we want to start the conversation today about workplace solutions in the COVID era. Obviously, a lot of things have changed, just within 24 hours.
Yes, they have. And that's one of the things I've got. Antonio is my Vanna White today, so I may tell him to change slides. Antonio, I'm ready for the next slide, please. I have some disclaimers. I am an interior designer. I have a Master's of Fine Arts in Interior Design from FSU, and I have been working in the commercial design space since 2001. 2011, not 2001, 2011. So I've been doing this for a minute, and I specialize in commercial design. So office spaces, healthcare, things like that. But I am not a healthcare professional. This is not medical advice. This is not legal advice. I am poor, don't sue me. And I'm not in any sort of leadership role at CDS. So please do not think that my comments represent CDS in any way. This is just synthesized from, we've been on hours and hours and hours of webinars that have been hosted by our manufacturing partners to help us understand how to navigate this and properly advise our clients. And so I've taken some of the information that I've gotten from these partners and consolidated it here. And I do want to encourage everyone, ask for help with your particular office space. You may have a furniture dealership that you already have a working relationship with. Ask them for help. If you don't have a furniture dealership that you work with, ask me. I've got a whole team of coworkers that would be, thrilled to help you navigate these times and your particular design issues. Ask your property manager. Reach out. This is a very crazy time. No one expects you to have all of the answers right away. So my number one thing is ask for help. And then also, I do not mind answering questions as we go along. And there's no stupid question, okay? I've been doing design a long time. There's probably jargon that I'm going to say. If it doesn't make sense, ask them the questions and they'll get it to me, and I'm happy to answer anything. So I'm excited to be here, and I hope this is helpful to everyone that's watching.
Yeah, I certainly think it's going to be extremely helpful. And whoever is watching right now, thank you so much for being here. And please share your comments and questions with Adrianne. That way you can get those questions answered in real time, because this is a very fluid situation. Obviously, we were planning ahead for this, but things have changed quite a bit. So thank you, Adrianne, for being on the ball. So let's get into this.
Okay, so Antonio, we're going to cover 3 basic workplace considerations, and it's going to be people, place, and process. And so I'm going to look at each one of these individually, and people's on the top because overwhelmingly that's what every expert that I've listened to has said is the most important thing, is helping to take care of your people. So we're going to start with that aspect of these 3 workplace considerations. Can have Antonio change the slide for me. So business owners probably know, and if they don't, they should. There's no asset more valuable to your organization than its people. And I found this statistic that the skill set of employees accounts for 85% of a company's assets. So that's huge. And employers know how expensive it is to attract and retain talent. And, you know, that's why people, between this 85% statistic and the cost involved to attract and retain talented employees, I think any business owner that's on here understands why people is, you know, the first point that we're going to talk about. So on the next slide, we're going to see, a lot of you may be familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and this is kind of an adaptation of that. And the important thing about Maslow's hierarchy is that you have to start at the bottom, and you can't advance through these levels until you've met the most basic level. So in Maslow's hierarchy, it's shelter. In this workplace reentry hierarchy, we're seeing physical considerations. So cultivating a feeling of safety. Our employees saying, I feel safe. So that's the base level. If you're not meeting these physical safety requirements, it doesn't matter what you're doing on an organizational level or on a social level in your workplace. You've got to take care of these basic concerns first. So the physical aspect of, you know, as an employee, I'm saying I feel safe. From an organizational aspect, having leadership policies, guidelines, protocols in line, communicating those policies so employees understand what you stand for at your company as far as these COVID rules and policies are being implemented. So an employee would say, I feel supported by my organization if you're meeting these organizational needs. And then at the pinnacle of the pyramid is social, or having an ecosystem of security, so your employees can say, okay, I feel seen. And it's important for employees to feel like they are a valuable part of their workplace. No one's going to stay working for a company when they don't feel like they're an integral part of a team. You're going to have turnover. And so you really want to get to this level of having an ecosystem of security in your workplace. But you've got to remember, we've got to start at the bottom with safety. We're going to go up to feeling support, and then at the top, feeling seen. If anyone has questions about this, comments, I'm reading the live comments right now.
Yeah, one comment I have in particular, and I'm sure a lot of people have thought about this, is, am I safe at work? Should I be going to work? Should I be, and so you just don't want your employees to have those thoughts. You want them to know that things are in place and in order to keep them safe, correct?
Absolutely. And on my next slide, I'm using CDS as an example. And that handsome devil is Stuart Davis, and he's the owner of our company. He has been in business for 32 years. He's an FSU graduate. And I used his photo because he really is the heart of our company. And from the beginning of COVID, I, as an employee, and I know all of my colleagues that I've talked to, have felt this in our workplace. We feel safe. They've been amazing. Our whole leadership team has been amazing about communicating this is what we expect from our employees. Keep each other safe, wear a mask, we're going to distance. This is what we're doing for cleaning. This is how we're screening guests. They have been great about enforcing these protocols that they've put into place. So everyone feels, okay, I feel safe, and I also know that I can voice my concerns. So there is that, it's on this slide, a culture of trust. I can call Stuart. I could call him right now and say, Stuart, I am struggling with this particular behavior at the workplace. Can you guys help me? And they would help us. And they've even said, economic times are hard right now, but as a company, they want to make sure that every single person that works for them feels safe and secure and doesn't feel like their job is at jeopardy. So not only feeling safe in our physical space, but also feeling safe from an aspect of job security. Now we're in a fortunate position where we're a large company and we have the capacity to be able to kind of weather this sort of rainy day scenario. So it's not the same situation everyone is in. Like I said, we're very fortunate, but CDS as a company has worked really hard to make us feel safe, feel supported. And then we absolutely have this culture of, feeling seen, being able to communicate with our peers, being able to express ideas. And so, obviously I'm biased. I work here. I've worked here for almost 7 years at this point, and I love it. And I joke with Stuart that I will be buried at CDS. But I wanted to use us as an example of how I have felt safe from a job standpoint since the beginning. And that has taken such a load off of me personally. I hear stories from friends and acquaintances where I have someone who was trying to get into her private office and her boss was blocking her from entering her office and joking with her like, ho, you're worried you're going to get sick? That's what you don't do. It's not funny. And even if COVID's funny to you, it's not funny to someone else. So you really need to be respectful of your employees. And if you are not in a leadership position, but you're someone who is an employee, be respectful to your coworkers. It's going to help make a better work environment for everyone. So I'm proud that CDS is doing an amazing job at fostering this kind of culture.
Absolutely. And also, as far as, setting an example to what businesses need to be doing and professionalism, it's certainly crucial at this point. In particular, if you want to keep your doors open and be part of the fabric of the community, even saying out loud what you're doing to protect your own employees and also your customers.
Absolutely. I mean, from a personal perspective, I'm on Facebook and I see businesses that are taking certain protocols, making these protocols widely known. And I feel safe knowing, okay, they care about their people and they care about me as a customer. And so even if that's the only reason you want to take these considerations to heart, if it's a bottom line thing for you and you want to keep your customers, do the right thing for your employees. People are watching, they see what you do. And you want to be a business leader in the community and have a positive reputation in the community. And a huge part of that is taking care of the people that work for you. So this is the second part of the sort of three-pronged approach to workplace safety when you're opening up. And so we're going to talk about place. And to me, the most important thing is that distance. You can see it. Distance is currently our best defense against spreading the disease. So I'm sure some people may have thought Adrianne is going to get on here. She represents a furniture dealership. She's going to try to sell us a bunch of furniture. No. The easiest thing you can do to keep your employees safe is absolutely free. Okay. And the reason that distance is the best defense is because there are no studies that show the effectiveness of dividers and partitions. There's no studies on that to date that I know of. Again, not a healthcare researcher or professional. But you've got to think about respiratory droplets that can travel not only forward, but also up, all over the place. So even if you do have a divider between you and the person next to you, that's only doing a certain amount of good. So on this next slide, the next couple slides, we're going to talk about how you can implement some distancing techniques in your office. So you can see here, I've highlighted those little circles on the floor are 6 foot diameter. That's the word I'm looking for. 6 foot diameter circles. So you can see each person, even though they're sitting at their desk, they're well beyond 6 feet apart from each other. And that's the distance that the CDC recommends, is a 6 foot space between occupants. So you can see this is a 50% occupancy load, where normally you would have 16 people in this setup. Now you only have 8. But this doesn't cost you a thing. You just adapt. You can have your workers come in shifts. And to kind of drive home the idea of this reduced occupancy, you want to remove any seats at empty stations. You want to remove guest chairs so no one's encouraged to come and visit and chit chat. This is something any business could do right now. Drop down to that 50% workstation occupancy. If you're not sure about, your space and how to do this, again, ask someone like me. Ask a furniture professional. Ask if you know, an interior designer that specializes on commercial space. Ask them to help you figure out how to space your employees out within your existing office. And that's completely free. You could do this right now. So another critical thing, and this is something you probably would need more assistance on as well, but again, it's free. Outline circulation paths in your office. Instead of everyone getting to just kind of walk around willy-nilly, have a clear-cut path. That way, you don't have to do the dance of walking by someone. And sure, even if you're in masks, that does mitigate the risk. But instead of just mitigating the risk, why don't you remove it entirely? If you have clearly defined circulation paths in your office, your employees can move around. They can know that they're not going to be coming face-to-face with anyone. You're maintaining that distance, that 6 foot distance at all times. And again, this is absolutely free. It takes no money to outline these circulation paths in your office. And distance is the most important thing that you can do to prevent disease spread in this instance. So these are like my 2 biggest recommendations. If you don't get anything else out of this, distance and distance. Easy, free, okay? I'm going to stop.
It's a clear direction as well, because obviously as business owners and people who are business owners understand that you've got to have clear directions for, how things operate at work. And so this just really doesn't, the employee is not questioning in their head whether I'm a good distance apart or whether or not. This just basically, it is what it is. This is the line. This is the area of path that you do not cross.
Yeah. And you've seen it. I'm sure you've seen it I saw it recently at Lucky Goat, and they did like these cute little like goat stickers on the floor. So it's in line with their branding. And you also know that it's 6 feet apart. But, that's a public facing sort of solution for maintaining that 6 foot distance. Y'all put some painter's tape on the floor. Like, this does not have to be high tech, right? And you need to think about it not only in, workstation areas, but also in your public areas. So this is a great example of both of these things that we're talking about, reducing occupancy and having clear circulation. So you can see if you have a larger office and you have a cafe, remove seating so people know I don't need to sit here. Put signs on tables that say, this is the maximum occupancy, and clearly outline your circulation paths. That way, people still feel safe going to these areas that you've invested in. They're still getting used, but your employees can feel safe while they're using these areas.
Definitely great points here. So if you are watching right now and you have any questions for Adrianne, just go ahead and give those to us whenever you have a chance. We'll make sure that we get those to her. And so now we're moving on to dividers. This will be interesting.
So this is another place consideration. And this is the one that if you can't do my free spacing solutions, then you can go to the next step of purchasing some sorts of dividers. So you can see here, this is kind of a typical workstation. These panels are 50 inches tall. So what that means is when someone's working and they're seated, the panel's going to be about head height on them, right? But if they cough or sneeze, droplets could go over that panel easily. So what you can do is, if you have existing furniture, you can always add some partitions on top of it. And we can skip to the next slide and you can see now we've added, now you can add, that's 15 extra inches of protection. So now we're at 65 inches high. I'm only 62 inches tall when I stand all the way up. So this is giving your employees an extra level of protection. And then you can see you've added that glass even on the exterior of the stations. So if someone's walking by, they can feel even more protected. And this is a simple solution. It's not a free solution, but it is a simple way. You're not going to have any downtime. You know, whoever provided your furniture initially, call them, reach out to them, ask them what solutions they have that will work with your system. I've got a customer that's up in North Georgia, and I've got glass screens going to them in the next couple days that they are just, I didn't sell them the furniture initially, but I was able to find a product that's going to be retrofitted on tops of their panels. And so they're going to be able, they're implementing the 6-foot distancing. And then for an extra measure, they've added this additional height on their workstations. So this is something easy to do. But then on the next slide, if you don't have existing furniture that you can add something to, you've got dividers that you can wheel around and, you know, put them wherever you need them. They can help you outline circulation. They can block off someone's workstation while they're working inside to give them an extra feeling of safety. And they can still be translucent. So you can see what's going on inside. But they're going to have that added safety of, I know that there is a layer of protection between me and anyone that's walking around the office. And then there are also things, next slide.
I like that these are mobile as well too. So that's really cool.
And then, because if you're at like a 50% occupancy level in your office, you can just get enough for the people that are going to be in the office one day at a time. You don't need to get all 16 of them. You can get 8 of them instead, and then deploy them later on in different areas. And then if you really are tight on space, on the next slide, you can see we can even get you dividers that go right on the desktop surface, and they can be very fancy, as you see on the right, where it's glass and it's sleek and it's beautiful. But there are inexpensive cardboard dividers that you can purchase. Now, they're going to be a one-time use. You can't clean cardboard. But if you guys, you know, you don't want to have a crazy expense and you're trying to do something immediate, that's a great option. You're having separation, and people will feel more safe than if you're not doing anything at all. But you can see from these examples why space and distancing is obviously a better route. But if you can't do that distancing, there are options for you to take advantage of in your workplace. So those are my place suggestions. And I want to pause if anyone has any thoughts or questions on that before I zoom on to our last little tidbit. And I'm going to take a water break.
This is the first time I'm seeing these cardboard dividers. Are these easily accessible to purchase online, or do you know of any local vendors that are offering these type of dividers?
There are, you can look on Amazon. It's one of those, we're definitely in a demand economy right now. COVID started and people started cranking out solutions. So I have solutions that I can purchase from someone that will only sell to me as a dealership. And then you can go on Amazon and find these sorts of things. Like I said, cardboard, not cleanable. You're definitely going to like use it and then get rid of it. But if this is the only thing you can do, at least it's something, you know, it's better than nothing.
Yeah, absolutely. Alrighty. And so, yeah, if you have any comments or questions for Adrianne about the dividers, we'll go ahead and get those taken care of for you throughout the live stream. And also, if you think of a question or comment after our live stream as well, too, Obviously, this will live as a video on Domi Station's Facebook page and also on the website as well, too. So you can make sure that you ask those questions. I know Adrianne is really good at getting back to people about getting those questions answered. All right, let's move on to the next.
All right, next one. This is our third and final topic. We've got to think about process, okay? So we've already talked about your people, how they're the number one priority. And we've talked about place and ways that you can make your place of work safer. And then finally, we need to look at the process of maybe not even returning to work. So on the next slide, we're going to take a look at, new ways to work. You as a company, something that doesn't involve a huge outlay of expense and will give your employees distance is letting them work from home. We've started calling it distributed work models, which is basically being able to distribute the location from where you work. So like at our office, they've got us on a schedule where, certain teams, you've got, half of the staff comes in on Mondays and Wednesdays, second half comes in on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then on Fridays, we're closed for cleaning. So we've all had to adapt really quickly to working from home, but it's been what's been able to keep us all safe and keep us working. And companies need to, be agile in these considerations. The way we used to come to work, even 3 months ago, that's gone. And the idea of you can only get your job done if you're in your brick and mortar office sitting at your cubicle, that's really antiquated. There are some jobs where you do have to be physically present, right? But there are a lot of jobs where you don't have to be physically present. And you can do things like Zoom meetings and, using your interoffice chats. We use Microsoft Teams, and it's been great for all of us to keep in touch. And, you may have to evaluate your work and leave policies to make sure that you are clear about how you expect employees to work from home. But this is something that you're going to have to do it sooner or later. Times are changing, and being able to work in new ways and not being tied to a desk is absolutely the wave of the future. And also going back to our idea of people, one of the ways that businesses attract and retain talent is by having these distributed work models, by having, giving employees the ability to work from home or work from anywhere. That's a perk to a lot of people when they're looking for a job. And I know this seems crazy because I make my living furnishing offices, but offices are going to downsize. If you don't have as many people coming into the office, you don't have to have as much real estate. You don't have to buy as much furniture.
But I will say home offices, because that's the silver lining as well, too.
It is a silver lining as I work from my dining table. I haven't totally pulled the trigger on having a home office. My husband does, but I am not set up that way yet. But things are absolutely changing. And so I see a question down here. Do you have distributive work schedules for your employees? And yeah, I would love to hear from other people that are watching what your schedules look like. This schedule has worked well for us at CDS, but I can also see if you're in a situation where you have a 24-hour work environment, like a call center, you can do shift work. A lot of call centers are already used to that. The manufacturers that we do business with, where they used to have fully staffed call centers, from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern time. Now, when I call customer service, I still get the same person I know and love and rely on, but sometimes I hear their kid in the background, and I'm okay with that. And I love that the companies we work with are taking this seriously and are allowing their employees to work from home. And I haven't had a reduction in service. I haven't had a reduction in anything that I'm used to from any of these manufacturers. And I think that everyone I work with, any of my clients and any of my colleagues would say, none of us have experienced any sort of downtick in productivity because we're working from home now. It's really been a lateral, if not a vertical move for all of us. So workplaces, if you're not thinking about working from home, you are behind the times and you're going to miss out. So I want people to really think about that, implementing that sort of process into their company where you can. Other process considerations on the next slide are related to when you have the processes in place, like your cleaning and your distancing and all of those things, like Chrissy was saying earlier, make it clear that this is what you're expected to do. Outline those circulation paths on the floor. Have a sign reminding people to wash their hands. Have maximum occupancy signs. All of those things that are going to reinforce, people will see while they're in the workplace and be reminded, this is the policy that I need to be adhering to right now. And then also, next slide, have really, really strict and clear protocols when it comes to cleaning, safety, hygiene, make sanitation supplies readily available. Do things like get your employees monitor arms and encourage them to have a clean desk surface. That way your cleaning crew can come in, they can sanitize everything down at the end of the week, and encourage employees to clean their personal spaces on a regular basis. Wash hands, wipe down keyboards. And this is hugely important if you have a work scenario where you have multiple employees sharing the same workspace. If you're doing shift work and you've got employee A doing the 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., and then you've got employee B coming in for that second, shift, you really have to have clear protocols in place for how you're handling cleaning between those shifts. It's so important. And if you're not following, if you don't have a clear process outlined, your employees aren't going to feel safe. And then your whole pyramid is going to topple. So this is extremely important. And also on the next slide, one of the things that a lot of people don't think about, partially I think because it's a little overwhelming, is have things in your office that have cleanable surfaces. And you can have upholstered pieces that even are cleanable. If you're not sure how to clean surfaces in your office, again, talk to someone like me. If you know the person that the furniture was purchased from, they can get on the phone or send an email to the manufacturer, and you can have very clear printed out instructions on how each surface in your office should be cleaned. If it's an upholstery piece, clear instructions on that. If you are in a situation right now where you're designing a new space, make sure that you're taking these kinds of things into consideration. Instead of buying a sofa for your lobby with the fabric that, looks pretty to you, maybe find one that's a little more expensive, that still looks pretty, and is also cleanable with a bleach solution. Plan for the future. And this is one of the areas where it really is beneficial to have someone that specializes in this. We do this all day, every day. I know entirely too much about cleaning furniture. I can bore you to tears. So reach out to us. You don't have to figure out these things alone. Reach out to your furniture partner, and we can absolutely help you in making sure that you're cleaning your products and buying cleanable products. A lot of people think, I can just spray bleach on something, and that's not entirely true. So, be safe with things like that as well. And this is,
I will pick your brain a little bit on that. So, clearly you probably have lots of advice in regards to what are some clean surface products or clean surface items that people may want to consider if they are looking to purchase.
Hard surfaces are cleanable, and you want hard, non-porous surfaces. So think about glass, a smooth plastic surface, or like polyurethane surface. If you're looking at desks, consider laminate, which is like a really hard surface. It can look like wood, but it's not porous like actual wood. So, and it's also less expensive than actual wood. So it's kind of a win-win. Hard surfaces, absolutely. are the way to go. But also at the end of the day, you are going to want some comfort. You are going to want some soft surfaces. And that's where, get some advice and use commercial graded fabrics. You can't just go to Home Goods or Ashley Furniture, no offense, and get furniture that is graded to work in a commercial environment. You really need to get something that's graded for a commercial environment. You're not going to find these fabrics at Chrysalis. You're not going to find these at Hobby Lobby. These are commercial environment specific textiles that really, they're worth the money because you are going to know how to clean them. They're going to be durable, and they're going to be safe for whoever is entering your facility.
This is an interesting question. I'm not sure if you can directly answer it, but we can definitely talk about this. Harley asked, should we quarantine new furniture for a certain amount of time? I guess how I want to phrase this to you is how long, if you think someone has COVID-19 or someone may be sick, how long should you keep that furniture away or maybe take it out of the situation? Because it can actually, I'm not sure how long you can stay on that type of surface, if it's wood or, porous material.
It definitely depends. And I again want to reiterate, this is not legal or medical advice, but it's a great question. Hard surfaces are so easy to clean. And so if it's a hard surface item, you're going to be able to, let's say hypothetically, let's say that your office, there is a case of COVID. Okay. So what you can do is call in a cleaning crew and have, to your comfort level, you can have that person's individual desk cleaned, or you can take it the next step and have all the desks cleaned, have all the public areas cleaned. It depends on how far you want to go. I would go all the way personally because, we're trying to build that foundation of feeling safe. Soft surface items, again, it's going to depend on what that soft surface is. I don't think there is such a thing as being too safe when it comes to this. So, if it's something that you can move out of the way, move it to a storage room, close the storage room off for a little while. I have not done a lot of research on how long the virus can live on soft surfaces. I don't know. I would say err on the side of caution if it's a soft surface. If it's a hard surface, get your cleaning people in there, and it shouldn't be a huge ordeal to get everything clean and be back to business in a day or two.
Okay, I think that's definitely reassuring for people who are watching who may own businesses right now.
That was a really good question. I haven't had to deal with that, thank God. I'm so lucky.
Well, but we're here. I see it on social media. We are here, and I applaud businesses who are saying, "Hey, look, we have one of our employees who has COVID-19, and we're taking the precautions and safety measures in place." And I certainly applaud all those businesses for doing that and being vulnerable to that situation. And so I think a lot of them have already had to go through that type of situation. And so just kind of knowing what are some of the first steps to take is reassuring for people who are watching. So
yeah, and that's a whole different situation too, being in charge of a public facing space as opposed to, I'm talking about your office I'm thinking of private offices where you don't have a ton of people coming in on a regular basis. But this kind of stuff can affect, it can go beyond restaurants. It can go to things like the DMV and public entities like that. State buildings where you have visitors coming in. Bottom line is, if you are being safe with your protocols in the first place, then you're not going to have to stress and struggle as much as you would if you had lax practices in place in the first place. So it's really meeting that bottom line of the distancing, of the masks, of the sanitation, all of those things. And then that way, if you do have an instance where you've got to deal with a case on site, it's going to be easier. And from my perspective, if I'm an employee and one of my coworkers, comes down with it, I'll feel better knowing that I've been kept safe, even though, we may have been in the same space. They were always wearing a mask. We were always 6 feet apart. all of these things work together and will impact what you have to do in this sort of situation if it comes up. So I think that's the end. I'm going to have Antonio hit my next slide. Yes.
Oh, Antonio's back.
Hey, buddy.
Hey,
So,
Antonio. I just wanted to pause and say, Antonio, you're doing a great job with the slides. Okay, sorry.
No, you're fine. So lastly, I know this was a lot of information. I know that a lot of this is kind of hard to process, and it may have brought up questions for you that you hadn't even thought of before. I put together a resource document that we can send out to everyone that registered for the webinar. It's going to have some links to different web resources. Like I've said before in this call, ask your local furniture dealership for help. If you don't have a furniture partner to reach out to me. I'm here for you. We have a wonderful local office with multiple people. I'm not the only one there that can help you. We've got a nice team of people that can come in and assist. And we have so many resources at our disposal that even if we don't know the exact way to handle your situation, we have manufacturing partners who have entire teams who have been devoted to doing this kind of research, communicating with the CDC, gathering everything they can. Since well before this started, we have furniture manufacturers with outfits in Asia. So they've been dealing with this way longer than we have. We're such a good resource for you, and we want to help you. We want to be, a partner that you can lean on and make this a lot easier. I've sat through like 20 hours of these things, you guys. There is so much knowledge in this brain. Like, it needs to go somewhere. Let me be your furniture nerd. Let me take on that burden for you. Anyone in my office would be happy to help you.
I'm going to type in here, let Adrianne be your furniture nerd.
It's really sad.
I'm going to bring Antonio back on. I know he has a couple questions for you as well, too. Welcome back, Antonio.
Thank you so much. Well, this was great. I am sorry I'm not a great slider.
You were wonderful.
I missed a few cues. But I'm very intrigued by this topic because, of course, co-working is one of the things that we do, and it's a lot of having the community come back. And I really loved your conversation around the topic of, I would say, culture in a broader sense, right? How are people feel safe and heard and how do they re-engage, with these new rules, right? And I was wondering, on one side, there are things, the cues that we can make so that people learn the new rules. But on the other side, I was wondering if there's a way to make this thing fun, to make these things part of the culture, right?
Yeah.
And there is this thing that I get reminded of in some airports in Europe. There's a little fly on the urinal, so that people point to the fly. It's kind of fun. It's like, what is that thing?
Right.
But you end up like doing that, and I feel that it will be an interesting challenge just to figure out, as we bring our communities back, to view these things not so much as some difficult rules that we have to endure, and more like a fun social game that is going to help us protect each other and be caring for the community, right?
One of the things I saw when I was going through the resources that I wanted to kind of consolidate for this webinar today was a blog entry kind of to that point from one of our manufacturers, All Steel. And the person that was writing it said, I live in Texas. And so we said that in our office, you need to have as much distance between you and your coworker as if they were a rattlesnake you happened upon on a walk. And I thought that was a really funny way of people understand like, oh, I see a rattlesnake, I'm backing up. So maybe for us in Florida, it would be alligators or, but that was kind of a funny way, instead of, you need to have these 6-foot rules, that gives people a frame of reference for, this is the protocol I need to be following. And then also it's fun and funny. And so I don't know what other ways to make it fun. I'm going to think about it though, and I'll let you know.
Well, and you were mentioning there was a coffee shop that had something in the floor with the brand.
Lucky Goat, yeah.
So Lucky Goat, it's kind of like incorporating the brand and making it playful, making it, something that is not, again, it's not like a big red sign, don't do this, it's
Exactly. And there are so many fun ways that, like, if you are putting, the 6-foot spacing on the floor, there are companies right now that they'll do custom graphics for you if you've got a hard surface floor, and it can have your company logo and it can say like fun little sayings. And you're absolutely right. It doesn't have to be something very serious. One of our manufacturing partners, National Office Furniture, they're already a company with a sense of humor. Like, their conference rooms at their headquarters in Indiana is they're all named after like different songs. A lot of them are rap songs, and it's really funny. And so you can have a sense of humor incorporated into these sorts of things, and I think that's a great point. It doesn't have to be doom and gloom and scary.
Yeah.
Right. And also, I think that does help with your branding as well, too. And also with how you're perceived by the community. Because I know for me personally, if I'm walking in, we're using the coffee shop scenario, but like if I'm walking in a coffee shop and I see this big red sign that's like, warning, 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 I'm not going to feel like I'm in a safe space. It's going to cause me a little bit of anxiety and stress. And so if you're able to lighten it up like Antonio mentioned, I think that goes a long way.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think that this it's an opportunity right now for people like you and others to help us figure out a way to implement these changes in a way that is sustainable, that is, again, that makes you feel safe. That's really what was, what I felt was the relevant thing for us, because for us at Domi, the community is so important. And the other question that I had was about technologies. I know that you are kind of like in all these, at the bleeding edge, right? And I wonder, what new technologies have you seen? Things that can be like with, I don't know, the air conditioning, or maybe temperature monitors, or things like that you have maybe seen that, I was wondering if you have seen something along those lines for the
So one thing that's pretty simple, and they actually implemented it at Amazon, is a temperature screening. It's like a glass. One of our partners, their name is Claris. They do glass boards. And they, within a couple weeks of the kind of national shutdown, they had these temperature screening glass mobile screens. And so it's literally a tall piece of glass, wide, and there's a hole right in the middle where someone holding a temperature gun can put the temperature gun on one side, person comes up, touches their head to it. So the person that's administering the temperature test is safe. And then it's an easily cleanable surface. So that's something that came out right away. Another thing that's really interesting, and I don't have all the details on because it's a new technology and some of it we can't talk a lot about yet, but we're working with a company that does UV cleaning systems. And so this would be amazing for, I know there would be a great use for it in healthcare facilities, in physical fitness facilities. Think of it, at your local gym, if they have these UV cleaning systems in place, they're in the ceiling and they just do a nice UV sweep. I'm guessing they're not cheap. This isn't something that, Domi's going to put in. It's not something we're going to put in our office, but other places could implement that kind of thing, like the big money makers, like a Starbucks, like a nationally, a national chain of a gym, or even, FSU athletics, that if they want to keep the guys safe, they can put this kind of thing in the locker room. So that is fascinating to me, the idea of that sort of UV technology. And as with any new technology, it's going to be cost prohibitive for a while, but it seems like that's a direction that things are going in.
Very cool.
Yeah, and I
Well,
think this conversation really fits within the vein of Domi Station, obviously, too, because this is an opportunity for entrepreneurs to come up with new and exciting ways, maybe more low cost effective ways to create and invent these things to better safeguard our communities. And so I guess, Antonio, this would be a good opportunity if you think you can come up with a good idea to reach out to Domi Station, right?
that's
Have a little
exactly right.
competition. I love it.
I love it. Maybe we should do something like that. Of course,
That's really smart.
That's exactly right. So I feel that, again, right now it's been really, so many months of being cooped up and all that, and it's been hard on everybody. But I feel that there's entrepreneurs out there and inventors that are coming up with the new ideas and saying, okay, what can we do to make this, something better, actually to make something better.
Necessity is the mother of invention. There's a reason they say that, that's like with our pillow business. The reason we started our pillow business was to solve a problem. And so, you're not, and that's one of the things I love about design, is that design is creativity with constraints. So, and I've always been drawn to that. I can't be an artist. That's too much freedom. I need some rules, right? So the great part about design is, Chrissy, you're amazing. I can't do it. But that's one of the amazing things about design, is that we really, at our heart, are problem solvers. And so that's why this is such a great moment for us to be able to feel helpful, and for our kind of thought processes that we do on a regular basis to be able to help people kind of come up with creative ways to navigate through this. So it's not necessarily exciting, but it is nice to feel like the knowledge that we have can be put to this kind of use.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I don't know how we're doing on time, but before we adjourn, I just wanted to thank you and thank CDS. I mean, CDS, after all, donated all the furniture at Domi.
We did.
And even though that was a long time ago, it has not been forgotten.
Thank you. We appreciate it. It was fun.
Yeah. So not only we have a beautiful space, it's very well furnished and it's very comfortable, and it's all thanks to you and to CDS. But also, it was great to see you in action, in your environment, with a topic that you definitely know really well.
Yeah.
And to help us all as we are trying to figure out how we're gonna, activate again our spaces and do it in a smart way. And now I'm gonna make it, I'm gonna try to influence at Domi that we do it in a fun way as well.
Yeah.
So that, it's not like, oh my God, I have to go into the office, but it's like, it's going to be fun,
Yeah.
And it's going to be great seeing the people again, and it's going to be safe too. So
yeah.
I think that you gave us great tips, and I really appreciate you.
Thank you guys. I'm glad to be on here, and I hope it's been helpful, and, absolutely reach out. I'll talk about this all day.
Yeah, I certainly think that this topic of discussion has been extremely helpful to people out there watching. Whether they're a business owner, whether if they're a management for a company, whether they're an employee, and employees can help implement these things and go to management and say, hey, I think we need to follow some of these protocols to make everyone else feel safe and healthy during this time. But also, I think this is a great opportunity for people who are wanting to come up with ways on how they can help. And so it's good to have a place like Domi Station to, help harness those ideas and be a resource for the community and for for all of our entrepreneurs and inventors out there who, you can see their minds working as they're talking, or, just working nonstop. And so anything you want to say about Domi Station, Antonio, for those people who think they have a good idea and would like to see it through for fruition?
Chrissy, thank you so much. Yes, of course, our doors, are right now constrained because, we only are open for members that have 24/7 access, but our programs are open online. And we have, just like we're doing this, we have other kinds of programs allow people to learn a little bit about entrepreneurship, get mentorship, and also get education about those things that they might not know. I mean, you might have a great idea, but you might not know how to, plan the financial modeling of it and, figure out if you're going to make money at some point. You might not know the legal implications and, particularly in Florida, how to get something going. So you guys can go in and, if you go to the build section of the website, that's where all the incubation programs are. We are, again, getting ready to start on the co-working side. So co-work, you can, on the next, that's for the incubation side. And then co-work, that's the memberships. And again, we are in the process of reopening, so to speak. And last but not least, we are running a series for COVID-19 for businesses that are in operation. And this is a very important resource. If you go into we're in this together, So we have a task force of mentors, and they have been putting together a lot of information as it comes in for things like the PPP, which, by the way, there is going to be a webinar after this one that is actually hosted by a third party. So not only are things that we do, but sometimes these are things that we are curating from other people, like in this case, Fundera and the COVID Loan Tracker, which is an interesting group that emerged in Florida as well. They have been tracking the PPP, and they have been putting resources together for people that want to apply or that want to now apply for forgiveness. So lots of great resources that are accessible. And if you go down, scroll down a little bit on the task force, if you click on that button, the red button, schedule a mentor. So our mentors have offered, this is something that is typically only for members, but these mentors, because of the situation, have decided to allow people that are not necessarily mentors that want to discuss a particular topic for their business. So again, this is part of the COVID-19 task force at Domi. And again, all these resources are available. And we might not be open physically at the space, but we are very open and working very hard from home and virtually.
Very cool. Very cool. All right, we've got some comments here. We've got Harley with Domi Stations. He says, thank you for a great webinar. We've got Laura Powers here saying, such good information. Thank you, Adrianne. Well, we want to say thank you to everyone who has participated in today's live stream and this conversation. It's certainly been very insightful. And also, we want to encourage others, if you still have questions or comments for Adrianne or Antonio, make sure you go ahead and post those comments still, now with this being a video that lives on Domi Station's Facebook page. And we want to say thank you to everyone who's participated today, and thank you for watching, and everyone have a wonderful day on behalf of Domi Station. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.